2, verses 8 to 20. The shepherds and the angels. In that region, there were shepherds living in the fields, keeping watch over their flock by night. Then an angel of the Lord stood before them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid, for see, I am bringing you the good news of great joy for all the people. To you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, who is the Messiah, the Lord. This will be a sign for you. You will find a child wrapped in bands of cloth and lying in a manger." And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on earth peace among those whom he favors." When the angels had left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let us go now to Bethlehem and see this thing that has taken place, which the Lord has made known to us." So they went with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the child lying in the manger. When they saw this, they made known what had been told them about this child. And all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds told them. But Mary treasured all these words and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all they had heard and seen, as it had been told them.
Rabbi Burns, I think, said, "The best laid schemes of mice and men gang after clay." And I have been really working at what do I say which is going to be fresh for Christmas Eve. This is my fourth Christmas Eve here at St. Andrews, and I didn't want to repeat myself because I know you will all remember exactly what I said in the previous years. But and so I tend to work at night, in the middle of the night. I get up and work for a couple of hours or 3 hours, and then go back to bed. But I did this week. And I worked out and wrote and typed up and printed out what I thought was a pretty good Christmas Eve sermon. Here it is. I'm going to use it. Because a friend of mine who goes to Westmount Park United Church has one of those habits of sending me emails incessantly. Never stopping sending me emails. They're usually very funny, but he sends some very good ones and some pretty awful ones. And sometimes I don't even read them. But this week, he sent me one. And it was a story, a Christmas story. You know, I don't know whether you read in the Gazette this morning the editorial. It mentioned that in New York City this year, the Atheist Society had put up a big billboard at the entrance on the New Jersey side to the Lincoln Tunnel going into Manhattan. And it was a big, much to their surprise, a big picture of Jesus and Mary and the animals and all a creche, a picture of the Nativity. And underneath were the letters, the words, "You know it's a myth." And so the Catholic Society, not to be outdone, put up another billboard at the other end of the Lincoln Tunnel as it goes onto Manhattan Island. And they put up almost exactly the same picture of Jesus and Mary and the whole Holy Family in the stable. And underneath they had the big letters that said, "You know, it's real." And I suppose the Catholics in this case did win, because as people were reading the atheist words, "You know, it's a myth," they went into the darkness of the tunnel. And then when they read the words coming out, "You know, it's real," well, they came out into the light, whatever it is, the light of Manhattan. It occurred to me that there are so many stories written about the birth of Jesus, so many stories which may be true in a historical sense, or they may not be true in a historical sense. They may be just lovely stories which nevertheless tell a great truth. And this story that Bob from Westmount Park United Church sent to me this week is another story. I don't think for 1 minute it's history, but it's a very beautiful story, and it's one which contains a great deal of truth. So I'm going to tell you that story. The old man sat in his gas station on a cold Christmas Eve. He hadn't been anywhere in years since his wife had died. It was just another day to him. He didn't hate Christmas, he just couldn't find a reason to celebrate. He was sitting there looking at the snow that had been falling for the last hour and wondering what it was all about, when the door opened and a homeless man stepped through. Instead of throwing the man out, old George, as he was known to his customers, told the man to come in and sit by the heater and warm up. "Thank you, but I don't mean to intrude," said the stranger. "I see you're busy, I'll just go." "Not without something hot in your belly," George said. He turned and opened a wide-mouthed thermos and handed it to the stranger. "It ain't much, but it's hot and tasty. Stew, made it myself. And when you're done, there's coffee, and it's fresh." Just at that moment, he heard the ding of the driveway bell. "Excuse me, be right back," George said. There in the driveway was a very old 60s car. Steam was rolling out of the front. The driver was panicked. "Mister, can you help me? My wife is with child and my car's broken." George opened the hood. It was bad. The block looked cracked from the cold. The car was dead. "You ain't going in this thing," George said as he turned away. "But mister, please help." The door of the office closed behind George as he went inside. He went to the office, got the keys to his old truck, and went back outside. He walked around the building, opened the garage, started his truck, and drove it round to where the couple was waiting. "Here, take my truck. She ain't the best thing you ever looked at, but she runs real good." George helped put the woman in the truck and watched as it sped off into the night. He turned and walked back inside the office. "Glad I gave them the truck. Their tires were shot too. That old truck has brand new tires." George thought he was talking to the stranger, but the man had gone. The thermos was there on the desk, empty, with a used coffee cup beside it. Well, at least he got something in his belly, George thought. George went back outside to see if the old car had stopped. Cranked slowly, but it started. He pulled it into the garage where the truck had been. He thought he would tinker with it for something to do. Christmas Eve meant very few customers. He discovered that the block hadn't cracked. It was just the bottom holes on the radiator. Well, shoot, I can fix this, he said to himself. So he put a new one on. Those tires ain't gonna get him through the winter either. He took the snow treads from his wife's old Lincoln. They were like new, and he wasn't going to drive the car anyway. As he was working, he heard shots being fired. He ran outside, and beside a police car, an officer lay on the cold ground, bleeding from the left shoulder. The officer moaned, "Please help me." George helped the officer inside as he remembered the training he'd received in the army as a medic. He knew the wound needed attention, pressure to stop the bleeding. The uniform company had been there that morning and had left clean shop towels. He used those and some duct tape to bind the wound. "Hey, they say duct tape can fix anything," he said, trying to make the policeman feel at ease. Something for pain, George thought. All he had were the pillows he used for his back. "These ought to work," he said. He put some water in a cup and gave the policeman the pillows. "You hang in there. I'm going to get you an ambulance." The phone was dead. "Maybe I can get one of your buddies on that there talk box out in your car." He went out only to find that the bullet had gone into the dashboard, destroying the two-way radio. He went back in to find the policeman sitting up. "Thanks," said the officer. "You could have left me there. The guy that shot me is still out there somewhere." George sat down beside him. "I would never leave an injured man in the army, and I ain't going to leave you." George pulled back the bandage to check for bleeding. "Looks worse than what it is. Bullet passed right through you. Good thing it missed the important stuff. I think with time you're going to be right as rain." George got up and poured a cup of coffee. "How do you take it?" he asked. "Not for me," said the officer. "Oh, you're going to drink this. Best in the city. Too bad I ain't got any donuts." The officer laughed and winced at the same time. The front door of the office flew open, and in burst a young man with a gun. "Give me all your cash. Do it now," the young man yelled. His hand was shaking, and George could tell that he'd never done anything like this before. "That's the guy that shot me," exclaimed the officer. "Son, why are you doing this?" asked George. "You need to put that cannon away. Somebody else might get hurt." The young man was confused. "Shut up, old man, or I'll shoot you too. Now give me the cash." The cop was reaching for his gun. "Put that thing away," George said. "We got too many in here now." He turned his attention to the young man. "Son, it's Christmas Eve. If you need money, well then here. It ain't much, but it's all I got. Now put that pea shooter away." George pulled $150 out of his pocket and handed it to the young man, reaching for the barrel of the gun at the same time.